Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pod Save Chocolate. My name is Clay Gordon. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about ceremonial cacao. And we're not going to be talking about some ceremonial cacao writ large. This is not some sort of deep dive into what ceremonial cacao is or is not. What we're doing is we're taking a look at a specific brand of something that claims to be ceremonial cacao, and we're going to be examining how you can go about examining the claim. So this whole episode is not about whether I believe that ceremonial cacao is a real thing or whether you should believe that ceremonial cacao is a real thing. It's really all about how do you become a better consumer of information that you find on the internet. Before we jump into today's episode, two bits of housekeeping. The first is this is the homepage of the Chocolate Life. You can go there right now. If you're not a member, this episode of Pod Save Chocolate, like every episode of Pod Save Chocolate, is supported by the members. You can click on the green join button up here, and there is always a free membership tier. But if you do have the resources to support the work that we do here, as little as $5 a month, you can go and check out the different member support levels. Your support here is appreciated. I don't do any other sort of online support. I'm not doing a Patreon, and I'm not going to be accepting YouTube ads when YouTube ads are available. So this is how I do what it is that I do. And I would just want to thank everybody for being a supporter of the Chocolate Life. Also, please go into the comments, whether it's the live chat in YouTube or the comments on LinkedIn and Facebook, and let me know where in the world you're connecting from. I'll get that shout out up on screen. And if you have a question about anything that I'm going to be talking about today, you can also put that in the comments and I will get those comments, questions asked and answered if I possibly can during the course of the episode. And with all that out of the way, let's get started on today's episode. So for every episode of Pod Save Chocolate, I produce a post. And this is the post for today's episode. Right? It's about Maïa ceremonial cacao. Is it a panacea, right? Or is it a scam? And again, the post that you see here is a run of show. These are not scripted. These are my thoughts, and I'm going to be covering these topics. You can go here. And if you want to, what you can do is you can go, if you have a second device, you can scan the QR code that's above me. Here, you can scan the QR code and you can follow along with this post on the Chocolate Life. Or you can go to at any time, go to the homepage of the Chocolate Life, and you can, for the next week or so, and you can click on this image and you'll be able to find this in the top rail. But again, so I want to thank a longtime member of the Chocolate Life for sending me the link to something earlier this week. And I am not going to put the active URLs of any one of their sites visited in this post today. I don't want to give them any more SEO visibility than they have right now. So because with spoiler alert, you should not purchase these companies' products, in my opinion. And I'm going to be going through how I determined that over the course of the next, over the rest of this episode. But first, let's go take a look at the URL that was sent me. So this is the link that was shared to me. It is from a company called the Cacao Research Institute. It isn't. No, it is from a Facebook account called the Cacao Research Institute. And they talk about cardiovascular health, and they talk about all this other kind of stuff. And what you do is you go, Maïa ceremonial cacao was designed for all of this kind of stuff. And then you have this images. The cacao helps counter the daily progression of artery plaque. And then you have buy two, get three as a special offer. We need to be very, very careful about that. And okay, so what are we going to do with that? So first thing that I did is there is a screenshot of part of what it is that the Cacao Research Institute is all about. And you can see it here. So if you want to look at it, you can go and look at it. I didn't do the entire thing, and I'm not going to put the Facebook share link in here because it's, again, I don't think they deserve additional. But you can see that these are the same, right? But this is really confusing, right? This is obviously an AI generated image. Not sure which AI generated it, but they're talking about cacao counters the progression of artery plaque, which is not a claim I've ever heard of for cacao. So curious as to know what that is. But the first thing that you want to do, right, in terms of, okay, is this a real claim or not, is I went to Facebook and I looked up the Cacao Research Institute. And what I find out is they've got 3,500 followers, a reasonable number of followers, but they're not following anybody. They claim to be a magazine, which is interesting, but there's no information about them. If you click on the about, there's nothing in the details, there's nothing in the contact info, there are no photos, there are no mentions, and most interestingly, there's no link to this post. So you can't get to this post from the Cacao Research Institute profile. So that's a red flag, right? And so what are we going to do, right? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to sit here and we're going to click on this link. And what we've got is we've got this, right? This, which is an indication. So let me go back just a little thing, right? So if we go look at this, what we'll do is we'll find that even though this is the Cacao Research Institute that's listed here on the heading, what we do is that the link is to this company called By Maïa. And there's nothing on the Cacao Research Institute post here on Facebook that says that there's any connection between the Cacao Research Institute and By Maïa. Another red flag, right? So we're here, we find By Maïa, and then, oh my gosh, we go here, right? And what we do is we find the Cacao Research Institute, right, is here with By Maïa. All right, so now we understand that one is promoting the other. And then we've got this timer that says, oh my gosh, right? You've got to take advantage of this right now. Buy 2 bags, get 3 free. And so there's an implied pressure. Oh my gosh, Harvard scientist discovers that superfood that fights artery plaque and controls blood pressure. But this is not navigation, it's just text. So there are no other entries on this website around health. There are no entries around blood circulation and top natural. So this is a fake. This is what the industry calls a landing page, right? So this is what the industry calls a landing page. And there are some things that we can do. Number one, it says, oh my gosh, it has a 4.9 average rating on Trustpilot. And, one of the things that I really wonder about for people is like, oh my gosh, this is a really easy thing to fact check. And so let's go and, here's the homepage. I did a screenshot of it in case it changed. But here's what Trustpilot, I went to the Trustpilot website, and it turns out that By Maïa does not have a 4.9% average rating. It has a 2.9 average rating, and there are only 2 reviews, right? And so what's going on here? So obviously, right, this is another tell that something is going on, that this may not be on the up and up. This is a really easily fact checkable point, and they're making a brazen misrepresentation of what the truth of the claims is going to be. Now, there's an associated website, Try Maïa, in addition to By Maïa. And if we go take a look at Try Maïa has 10 reviews, but it only has a 2.0 rating. So we cannot trust the 4.9 average rating on Trustpilot with only 1 star, not 4 or 5 stars. A bunch of interesting clues. So let's go do here. Number one is, okay, they're saying that high flavanol cacao is better than super beets, right? And we're talking about nature's arterial defense that fights plaque buildup. And we have one cardiologist who requested anonymity. So Dr. Elena Vasquez's Maïa Ceremonial Cacao, right? So I did actually a search, and this is in the post from today. You can go and look at it. So let's go quick out of here and find Elena. So there is no independent footprint, no hospital, no clinic bio, no board listings, no talker publications that would be expected for someone portrayed as a long practicing cardiologist, natural health expert. Okay, so they're making some claims, right? And their expert, the medical expert, does not appear to be a real person. Another red flag. And then we have another one. Admits one cardiologist who requested anonymity, right? Another red flag. Anytime there is a doctor who claims, oh my gosh, the medical establishment is out to get me if I say that there's a natural alternative to a big pharma drug, they're going to come after me, right? Conspiracy theory, this is another red flag, right? So we come in here, and what I want to do is I want to search for a term here called nattokinase, right? So this is really, really interesting. So what is nattokinase? It's, if you've ever had the Japanese food called natto, nattokinase is a chemical that exists. It may be an enzyme that exists within natto that has shown some ability to reduce arterial plaque, atherosclerotic plaque. That has shown some ability. But notice what we've got here is we've got, this appears to be a pill right here in the blood support thing. This appears to be a powder in the sugar beet things, high flavanol cacao, right? So that's, interesting. So we've got this list here and all this other kind of stuff. So enhanced with nattokinase. While ceremonial cacaos, epicatechins repair and strengthen your artery walls, Maïa is enhanced with nattokinase. It is an enzyme, right? So why is this important, right? Because if you go to a different version of this landing page, so this is a version of the landing page without an Facebook tracking cookie that is put in with the URL. The Facebook tracking cookie says this is the link that you clicked on, and then you're going to go to a specific page on the Buy Maïa website. And depending upon which link you click on, you're going to go to a different page. So I clicked on one link, right? The link that is in this post, right? And I go to this page. If I just copy the naked URL without all the Facebook ad IDs, I go to this page. I go to this page, right? And notice that there is no mention of Cacao Research Institute, right? It does have this 4.9, average, but oh my gosh, natural enzyme that dissolves arterial plaque. I mean, it's an entirely different headline, right? This is another red flag, right? So again, right, I'm using this this company, right, as a means to help you get better at examining the claims that are made for products. I haven't tasted this product. I don't know what it tastes like. I don't know if it tastes any good. I mean, I am right now just evaluating the claims that are made. We'll get into a deeper dive about some of the other claims that are being made. But right now, this is an easy way to go and figure out. I think that if I come here and click on this, right, you'll see that Shocking Discovery Plaque, CRI, which is the Cacao Research Institute, right? And this URL is one thing. And if I go here, this is a different URL. So yeah, depending on where you come from, you get to a different place. So let's take a quick break. Hey, listen, this is Juan Gonzalez from Canada. He runs a fabulous business called Mabco, the Mexican Arabica Bean Co. If I correct, he works with importing and distributing coffee beans as well as cocoa beans. Known Juan for quite some time. Really, really nice guy. So in my opinion, this topic is very interesting. Ceremonial cacao is a scam, and I have been offered in the past, and you have been, I assuming, present at some cacao ceremonies in Guatemala, and the ceremony was invented by hippie people and later was picked up by vegan and raw movement. At one point, these people were promoting raw chocolate, but they realized you can't make chocolate with raw beans. They changed to a special roasting profile that they can call raw chocolate. All the claims are just. Juan, I don't disagree with you, right? I think that you know, if you go to a cacao ceremony in a producing country, so if you a cocoa producing country, if you go to a ceremony in a producing country, and the ceremony is presented by an indigenous person and an indigenous shaman, right? You can make, I think, some more legitimate connection to the ethno-religious history of cacao consumption in Mesoamerica, particularly Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, and the part of what is now Mexico that is close to Belize, Honduras, and Guatemala. Maïa territory. And you can make some connection. Uh, the ceremonies are in part about meditation. You can sit down and think about what it is that's going on, and it's like any other kind of religious um, meditative exercise that includes the consumption of a beverage. But one of the interesting things about cacao um, is that it actually does have chemicals in it that change brain chemistry. So if you consume enough cacao in a quote unquote pure enough form, there may be chemicals which are going to alter brain chemistry. And so and as a matter of fact, it may be that particular reason, which is why the um, the early Maya, so the pre-classic Maya, the Olmecs and the Toltecs, right, and other cultures elevated cacao to this position. It changed their brain state. It changed their body chemistry. It gave them energy. It might have had a mild hallucinogenic effect. I mean, if you're not trying to fight a whole lot of sugar in your diet, a whole lot of processed foods in your diet, you're not trying to overcome a lot of pollution around you in the air and in the water and places like that. Trace amounts of chemicals, theobromine, things that are going to affect the anandamide receptors in the brain, serotonin uptake, all those kinds of things. There's a reason, right? And a biochemical reason, right? Which is for ancient peoples thinking about cacao differently from the way they thought about other foods. I think if you think about it that way, it makes sense in an ethno-historic, ethno-religious kind of way, right? Um, if, however, what you're talking about when you talk about ceremonial cacao is cultural misappropriation. So somebody who's not indigenous, somebody who's not an indigenous shaman, who hasn't been trained in those ways, is using cacao, often very expensive cacao, with uncertain provenance, um, to be able to make money off of uh, gullible tourists, then I am in complete agreement with you, right? Uh, that said, if you want to buy a relatively pure cacao product, turn it into a beverage, make it as a part of a meditative ritual in the morning when you wake up at some point in the middle of the day. I mean, in that respect, I have no issues with the idea of ceremonial cacao. I hope it's a great point and it's a great set of questions there. And I didn't really want to spend more than a few minutes talking about my thoughts about ceremonial cacao. But thanks for asking the question. Right? But I want to get back to this. What we do is we have two different landing pages. So depending upon where we came across, so these are called ClickFunnels, right? So you go to some place, you click on it, it takes you to a page. These are landing pages. And depending upon where you found it, where you found the link to this, you will go to a different page. And part of what it is that the producers of these pages are doing is they're doing what's called A/B testing. So they have two different versions of an offer, or two or more different versions of an offer at the same time. And what they're doing is they're trying to figure out which more people click on, right? And then which more people buy from. And so you're part of an experiment by the people who are doing this when you see that there are these two different pages that you can go to. And they're very different, right? The Cacao Institute, we have a timer, right? We've got this Trust Pilot link. We've got a superfood that fights artery plaque and controls blood pressure. Notice that we have a picture of cacao here. If we go to this landing page, we have an entirely different picture here. And notice, oh my gosh, this is actually for nattokinase rather than cacao, right there. Is there any mention of cacao on this page? Other than the name of the company at the very bottom, there's no mention of cacao on this page. So you would be very, very, you would be very, very, I'm looking for a word. If you weren't confused, I would be surprised, right? Because they're making two different offers here, right? From what appear to be very, very similar links. But let's go back to the homepage of buymaia.com. That buymaia.com. Here it is. And we're talking about this product, which was 100% pure ceremonial cacao, right? That's what it says right here. I realize that I am in the way, so let me get out of the way. It says 100% pure ceremonial cacao. So obviously there's nothing in this product which talks about nattokinase. So if I go to this version of the homepage, notice nothing associated with Cocoa Research Institute. They don't mention Trustpilot. It's 4.6 of 5, right? Out of 1,300 reviews, but they don't tell you where the reviews are. This is a red flag, right? They don't tell you where these are coming from, right? So crafted from potent ceremonial grade cacao and with naturally occurring flavanols than typical cocoa, enjoyed for centuries in cultures that value circulation. So this is an interesting claim, right? Because it turns out if we go back 2,000 years or 3,000 years, none of the cultures thought about circulation because they really didn't understand the heart as a pump. So this is from a modern perspective. It is a retrojection. It is anachronistic. So, we need to worry about that, right? So what we can do is we can click on this and we can find I buy one and I get one free. I buy two and I get two free, but notice there's no discount. So the more I buy, so 3 times 49 is 147. So there's actually no discount for purchasing. So the only thing you'd save is shipping, and you get this free ebook, and they don't tell you what the free ebook is all about. So, right? And they're going to charge you shipping, but if you want to pay the insurance and get faster shipping, you can pay for the privilege, which I would not do. But there you go. But one of the things that's missing here, and is we don't see any indication of how big the packages are. We don't know how much we're buying. So what we can do is we can go back to the homepage, right? We can go back to the homepage and, there's this little thing on the front. And I can say, this is interesting. I can get 10.5 ounces, right? 300 grams, 10 times 28 is 280 plus 14, right? 294, close enough. 30 servings, that's each serving is 10 grams. And now what we can do is we can do a little bit of math on how expensive that is. And I have done some of the math on how expensive that is. So if we go down into we have an example deep dive on sourcing. I notice I'm inconsistent in my bolding of this, but there's a deep dive on price. And so the price is, assuming a package weight of 10.5 ounces or 300 grams, the buy one, get one offer at $49 is $2.33 an ounce, or $38 a pound, or about 75 cents per serving, not including shipping. Given the price of cocoa, so I don't know if this is actually grated chocolate, which I assume that it is, or grated cacao paste, which is just, refined, which is just ground cocoa nibs. What's the fat content here? So in 6 grams, there's less than 1 gram of fat. 6 grams, they're less than 1 gram of fat. So we're talking about 10% fat, which if we're doing grated cocoa, that makes no sense, right? It makes no sense that a cacao paste only has 10% fat in it. So 1 gram in 7 grams, 14%. You know, a low fat cocoa powder is between 10 and 12%. A high fat cocoa powder is around 22%. Just a ground cacao nibs are going to be somewhere between 47 and 53%. This number doesn't make any sense to me. But what's worse about this, right, is that if you go to the By Maïa website, here's the homepage, is that you will not find, you will not find the nutrition label anywhere. It's not on the site here. When you go click on the website here, it's not visible anywhere. Right? It's just nowhere. It's interesting. $4.95 shipping. I pay 4 cents more for priority shipping. Anyway, so it's like upsell, 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 and what are you actually getting? But notice I don't have any idea what it is that I'm actually buying, and that's a shame. The reason why that becomes really, really important is if we actually go to the Try Maïa website, which is another aspect of the ClickFunnel, right? What we see is 4.65 out of 1,300 reviews. Let me go to the right page, go back. It's the same product, and 4.65 out of 1,326, that matches. So at least they're being consistent in that respect, although this is not a link, right? And this is not a link. And the pages are nearly identical. Slightly different fonts, you'd have to be paying attention, right? In terms of what's figuring it out, it's the pretty much text. But here's an interesting difference. We go and we look at the image. This says 10.5 ounces, which is 200 grams. Well, 10.5 ounces, as we have decided, is 294 grams, close enough to 300. But 200 grams is like 8 times 28 is 160, is less than 8 ounces. And this is why we end up finding, right, that this is a 6-gram serving rather than a 10-gram serving. And what this says is they're the same price. If I go here and I click on the buy button, right, and I go and take a look at it, I get buy one, get one free for $49. They're the same price. And so the real question is, are you getting 200-gram packs when you go to TryMaïa.com, right? And 300-gram packs when you go to BuyMaïa.com, and they're this, or TryMaïa.co, and you go to BuyMaïa.com, are you actually paying more when you go to one site over the other, right? Again, huge red flag. This is a ClickFunnel. These are landing pages, a lead magnet, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to, oh my gosh, interesting. They actually make the claim, ultra rare Criollo cacao from indigenous farms with limited harvests. If you actually go to the BuyMaïa.com webpage, on the shopping page, it's completely different. They're not making any claims about where this is coming from. So what's really interesting, if this is ultra rare Criollo cacao, then there is no way that a product can be sold for $2.33 an ounce, or 37 a pound, which is $17 a kilo. Ultra rare Criollos. I mean, Juan, if you're still watching, you can confirm this me. I mean, there's very, very little genetically pure Criollo that's in the marketplace. And if I was thinking about buying it, I'm probably paying somewhere between $15 and $20 a kilo for a true ultra rare Criollo. And that's just the beans. I do all the processing and all that kind of stuff. There's no way that this can be ultra rare Criollo at the prices that I'm thinking of, for the cost of the beans, and make it possible for them to sell this product at this price. So another line of evidence that suggests that this product is not on the up and up. The other thing we need to think about is this sheet, this landing page, right, talks about a natural enzyme, nattokinase, and this is a pill bottle. It's not a product, right? And we don't talk about cacao here, but if we go back here, what we're talking about is an article that's talking about, or not an article, but a pitch that's talking about from the Cacao Research Institute. So, oh my gosh, it's from a research institute. So it must be true because it's from a research institute, right? And what they're talking about here is this cacao helps counter the daily progression of artery plaque. And we know that cacao doesn't counter the progression of arterial plaque. It's not going to do anything, right, to go and reduce the plaque deposits on the inside of blood vessels. That's, I mean, at the sort of level that this product claims, right? And again, secured bottles, stockpiling, refusing to tell even their closest friends about their dramatic artery transformations. Why not? If you had taken a product and it was transforming your life, why would you keep it to yourself, right? This is just trying to go, oh my gosh, big pharma, we need to get these things and hold them close, right? So that big pharma doesn't shut it down. But notice that this landing page and this landing page are completely different, right? And here the focus is in cacao, and they don't talk at all about, well, they do talk about nattokinase, right? But this page, which is about nattokinase, only talks about cacao in the footer, right? So again, right, these are just red flags. As you're going through and taking a look at these things, these are the sorts of things that you need to take a look at. Now, over at the Post on the Chocolate for this podcast, I take a couple of the claims that are on a page. We'll go back to them, right? So conventional medicine doesn't want you to know this about Dr. Elena Vasquez. There's no cited research. This 5,000-year secret, clinically proven, zero side effects. And so let's go back to this landing page. Sorry, we have so many. So let's go take a look. We're talking about cacao. And so this is where the claims are from. 8 reasons adults over 50 can't get enough of this arterial health miracle. Number 1, anybody who's claiming a miraculous cure for a pill, think twice. Think twice, right? Right? They're preying on your lack of knowledge about what cacao can do. You've probably heard, oh, cacao is good for you. It's got, it can help with my heart health and things like that. And oh my gosh, pure ceremonial grade cacao. Oh my gosh, it must be the best of the best of the best, right? So this is what they're doing. It activates your natural plaque fighting system, Harvard proven, right? So the answer, so I do go, and it turns out that anytime, I'll just give you the TLDR on this, anytime you see something like this, Harvard research, and it's not a link, right? You need to think about it, right? Why aren't they linking to the actual Harvard research, right? Ceremonial cacao flavanols upregulate the entire enzymatic pathway, right? So there's no cited research. Why aren't they citing the research? Because the research doesn't say what they're claiming that it says, right? So if you go back to the post for today, I do a little deeper dive on one of the claims, the ancient secret, the sourcing claims, the deep dive on the price. There, I may or may not. So I do talk about at high level what's plausible versus the hype. High flavanol cocoa can modestly improve endothelial function and may contribute to slightly better pressure in some individuals. And this is individuals who are probably not already taking blood pressure medication, from my reading between the lines. Processing can radically change flavanol content. Yes, if you have a Dutch processed as opposed to a non-Dutch cocoa, the flavanol and the entire nutritional profile of the cocoa is going to be entirely different. So if you are interested in the health benefits of cacao, you know, eating undutched, so non-alkalized natural cocoa powder, or doing a cacao paste, or which hasn't been alkalized, and that's going to be where you're going to retain as many of the health-giving chemicals as you possibly can. And notice here they're talking about nattokinase. So what's happening here, right, is that if we start here, this is where they're talking about nattokinase and cacao together, right? But if we go here, what we do is we see that, oh my gosh, this is 100% pure ceremonial cacao, right? And there are no added ingredients, right? So this whole notion, um, um, here, that right, that it's some combination of with nattokinase, all right, is completely lost. I just want to make sure I'm on the right page. I am. All right. So we're talking about this cacao, high flavanol cacao, right, with nattokinase because it says nattokinase here. But notice that pure ceremonial cacao does not include nattokinase, right? It would show up on the ingredients list. It would be required to show up on the ingredients list. So we this is why they don't show you the ingredient list, right? Now I was able to find an ingredient list. I did a search for by Maïa ceremonial cacao, and then this is on DuckDuckGo. I went and said show me only images, and I go down here, and oh my gosh, here is the ingredients list that I found, the nutritional panel that I found. And it does say, right, if we zoom in on it, right, that 100% cacao, right? So it's there. But let's go back here. What you'll do is we actually can't see the back panel. There's no picture of the back of the label here. I mean, we have parts of the label, maybe. Is that it? No, this is for another wild cacao. So there's no picture of the back of the by Maïa cacao, the full back label. So we have no idea what is being said here, which is again another red flag. But they are available on Amazon, and so you can go take. I'm not recommending that you go to Amazon and you buy it. This is in a separate browser. I'm blocking cookies. I'm on a VPN. I'm doing everything I can to make sure I don't get this doesn't come back to me in other ways. But if I take a look at it, here's the front, and notice that it is 300 grams, 30 servings. Yay. I mean, we've got some corroboration, right? That, so with flavanol, theobromine, magnesium, and natural flavonoids blend. So if it's 100% pure, then this notion about natural flavonoids blend is completely misleading because there's only one ingredient and it's cacao, and so it's not what I don't know what it's a blend of. So you just again another red flag. Um, it's cacao powder, right? Actually, so here's what we've got: is if this is cacao powder and it's 1%, so 1%, 10% fat. This is a low fat cocoa powder, right? And that means it is highly processed. Anybody who knows anything about ceremonial cacao knows that they're talking about paste. They're not talking about powder. So I don't know how they can make any of the claims that they're making for this, right? Um, and I don't know if it's pure Criollo, rare Criollo cacao that they can actually sell this product at the price that they're claiming, that their price that they're charging for it. There's just no way, right? If I'm taking, so if a Criollo cacao paste is, we're just going to call it 50% fat, right? I get rid of 40% of the cocoa butter. The price of the powder is now much more expensive than the paste is, right? And it's processed at high temperature for almost certainly it's processed at high temperature. And so this is probably not a real thing. Um, Ceremonial superfood from a single ingredient. It's it says it's high theobromine cacao. We don't know that. There are no independent lab tests that tell us anything about them. Um, Organic and natural, right? No sugar. They say it's not mass produced. Um, but one of the things that is visible nowhere is they don't say who's making it for them, where it's made. So there's no made for, or made by, or made for and distributed by. There's none of this language anywhere on the back of the package that we can see. We don't know if it's made in the United States. We have no idea from this stuff. Again, if what it is that you're looking to do is you're looking to purchase a high quality cacao paste that you can use, right, in a meditative, I'm going to say ritual, in a regular meditative ritual, then this is really perspective. $4.50 per ounce for a meh cocoa powder, right? As near as I can tell, it's a meh cocoa powder. And notice it's 42.99 for one bag. So really expensive to buy on Amazon. Um, but notice also it's as little as 33. 33, save 10% on two. But obviously, oh, this is not Maïa cacao. This is Mana cacao. So this is ceremonial cacao, right? From Costa Rica. I have no idea. So you have to be really careful. I mean, this is ceremonial cacao, prices ranging from $4 an ounce, $4.80 an ounce, right? $1.25 an ounce. This is ceremonial cacao powder for $1.25 an ounce. And this is a point. Ceremonial cacao powder is a contradiction in terms. By the time you process it into powder, you've processed out, because of the heat involved in efficiently separating the fat, the non-fat solids from the cocoa butter. You're doing this at temperatures above 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually, you cooked out many of the things that you think are going to be helpful ingredients. So if you're looking for ceremonial cacao, look for paste, not powder. Just rule number one, right? But the prices are all over that. 42. Now this is the same. This is the same ad. And what else have we got in terms of prices? Antler Farms, organic raw powder, 241 an ounce, right? So you have, like many things on Amazon, you need to be really careful about looking at things and what they're actually proposing. So here's $54, 338 an ounce. It's you need to be careful about what it is that's going on to figure out what you're doing. But notice that the prices here, I mean, one of the things about doing it on the Buy Maïa website, if that's what you want to do, is that what you're doing is you're paying, basically getting at least a 50% discount than if you purchase it off Amazon. And that's pretty unusual, right? Many people think that Amazon is the cheapest place to buy things, and often they are not, right? You need to you know, look at what they're offering on Amazon, and then if you can, go to the website of the manufacturer. Well, these guys are not a manufacturer, they're a marketing company. I don't think they make anything. They're buying in what appears to be an industrial grade cocoa powder. They are misrepresenting it and hoping that you don't notice what it is that they're doing, right? But here's, again, the number one thing to think about. So here is the original Facebook post. And by the way, I got to nearly 100% certainty that this was not legit. It only took about 5 minutes. I mean, much of the rest of the stuff is and some, it's additional research that I did, right? So here is the original ClickFunnel, right? We take it here and we go and we follow the URL, and that URL takes us onto this page, right? And here we see the Cacao Research Institute are connected somehow with Maïa cacao. Scroll down to the bottom. Here's the thing. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. The product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results vary from YMMV. The information provided, is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice. Individual testimonials are not claimed to represent typical results. I mean, all the disclaimers. They say it's made in USA. We don't know who made it. No heavy metals. We don't know who tested it, right? It's 100% organic. You guess what? There's no organic certification on the packaging that I saw. So maybe it's made from organic stuff, but they're not claiming that they are organic certified. Again, right? It's non-GMO. Like 100% of cocoa is non-GMO. There's no GMO. There's no genetically modified cocoa in production anywhere in the world. But this is not GMO. This is not non-GMO project verified. It says free shipping. Oh, let's go and let's see. Can I get free shipping here? Buy 2, get 3 free. So this is 5, right? 222 for $89. Again, if this is ceremonial, ultra rare Criollo cacao, here it is again, ultra rare Criollo cacao. If this is ultra rare Criollo cacao, right, that will clean arterial plaque in just 30 days, right? So maybe, does this have the nattokinase in it, which is what's doing the, don't get me started, right? You have to be careful. But $225 nearly for only 89 bucks, right? And fast shipping, get it by Friday the 13th. This is a bad idea. But for some reason, if I go to this page, the shipping is free. But if I go to other pages, the shipping is not free. You're part of an experiment here. They want to know how closely you are paying attention to the different offers. The offer that's on this page, right, which you get to by clicking on this ClickFunnel, right, are different from if you go to the Buy Maïa.com homepage and you click on the ceremonial, if you click on the buy link here, right, and there's another ClickFunnel link, right, which takes you to a different page, which has nothing to do with cacao. It has to do only with this nattokinase product that they're making. And this dissolves ulterior plaque better than any other supplement on the market. Probably not true. Certainly, if there was clinical research that they were talking to, oh my God, it's validated biochemistry from over 100,000 years of Japanese medicine with no links. It may be, I mean, the Japanese know amazing things. There's a lot to know about it. But so you have to go through and figure these out. And it turns out that there's a claim, a 1,000-year-old Japanese artery secret. And we come here and we appeal to a 5,000-year-old blood pressure secret. Right? So there is an overlap in the claims. And again, they're trying to figure out which of them you're going to react to and what you're willing to pay and how much work you're willing to do to figure this out, right? And in the process of doing it, they're going to make some really, really easy to fact check claims. Notice that this is not text, right? This is an image, right? Right. And if it were a text, I would be able to grab it a little easier, right, to figure it out. I mean, just lots and lots and lots of tells, right? So, this is text that is easy to grab. March 2025. So again, it is counting down. It's counting down pretty slowly, right? That's what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about today was what you need to do. So you're on Facebook, right? And a friend of yours shares this link with you. And it appears to be from this Cacao Research Institute. Now I'm in the business, and I know there's an Institute for Cocoa and Chocolate Research, but I don't know that there's a Cacao Research Institute post. And it says that it's a magazine. Right. So you're coming along and it goes, oh man, there's all this kind of stuff. And oh, there's this little cute AI. So this cacao pod is the vacuum that is sucking up the plaque. That's a pretty cool kind of thing. Right? They're cute, right? But what you want to do is, if you are at all convinced that the kinds of conspiracy theories that are being talked about when it comes to big pharma, and people's rejection of science, right? And again, gullibility around conspiracy theories. You might think this is a pretty cool thing that you might want to go take a look at. But let's go see if we can find anything. I mean, these are things that you can do really, really quickly. So one of these is okay. So let's go and convert this to, let's look at everything. Let's go say all, and we're going to go from here, and we're going to, instead of looking for by Maïa, we're going to go look for the Cacao Research Institute. So here, Institute for Cacao and Chocolate Research, that's out of Harvard. Used to be the Fine Cacao and Chocolate Institute, FCCI. But let's go see what we can find about the Cacao Research Institute. Well, ICCR, Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana, CRIN, the Cacao and Chocolate Research Network. There's a CRIN in Nigeria. So this is a CCRN. Fine. So chocolateinstitute.org. So there's still a whole bunch of stuff about it. So we don't actually find anything about the Cacao Research Institute until we come to this post on Facebook, right? And by the way, this is the Cacao Research Institute. If I go to the Cacao Research Institute page, well, I'm not logged into Facebook, so that's why it's not going to do it. I was doing it in another browser, right? So I can understand what that is. But if we do go to the Cacao Research Institute page, what we can see is that there are no posts, right? There are no posts. If we clicked on all, you can go do this. If you want to go to Facebook, search for Cacao Research Institute, you'll find that there are no posts associated with it. So again, another red flag that you do need to think about it, right? There's more that you can go and take a look at it. And I'm hoping that what you're getting here is you're getting some ideas about how to be a better, more skeptical consumer of information. Whenever you see a claim that appears to be too good to be true, your default position is to say, yes, it is too good to be true. And before you go spend more than $50 and give somebody permission to keep on emailing you, the moment you give them your phone number, your credit card number, then the moment you give them your shipping address, your billing address, maybe a phone number in case they need to contact you with a shipping problem, you are, and this may be another, maybe your data is being sold to data brokers and they're making as much money from the data brokers as they are from selling you product. Something to consider. The default position, the null hypothesis, is to not believe, right? And there are really interesting things that you do. So here, I go to By Maïa. This is the homepage for the By Maïa website. But here is the link, right, from a ClickFunnel. It's a very, very different look and feel. Here is another ClickFunnel link. And it's similar, right? But if we look closely, we'll find that, oh my gosh, this is for, this looks like, it's hard to know. I'm going off the screen because I'm looking at this closely, is that could be photoshopped in. I'm looking at the way INGS. So let's go do that. Let's go take a look at this one. and take away, see the way INGS there is, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to see the way INGS is. This might be the same photo, and the differences are somebody has photoshopped in the weights. Right? I'm not saying that that's the case. I need to do a little more forensic examination of the image. Not something that I want to do, but they appear to be identical photos, right? And but they have, are they identical photos? Yeah, they appear to be identical photos. The only so just something to consider when you go and look at that stuff. Right? And that's where I wanted to take you today. I wanted to take you today on some of so I've been doing things like this, examining claims that are made about chocolate products and cacao products as a part of what it is that I'm doing. Um, and for the last 15 years of my nearly 25-year career, figuring out what is true, what is hype, right, has been a part of what it is that I do. And, in this day of AI and large language models that can create some very, very convincing looking materials, it is more difficult to be able to tell, is this real or is this not? Right. And you need to be a much more skeptical consumer of information. Well, a much more aware consumer of information. You need to go in with this null hypothesis, which is this is not true until it is proven to be true. And what you need to do is you need to do the research in order to figure out if the claims are true. What I wanted to do today, right, was not to rag on ceremonial cacao specifically, although Juan Gonzalez earlier asked some really good questions and made some really good points about it. I'm in, pretty much, um, here's what it is that Juan had to say. I'll put it up on screen. Um, I'm not going to read it again. Juan, expressed an opinion. I am in general agreement with what it is that Juan is saying right now, which is that the vast majority of what is being sold as ceremonial cacao and cacao ceremonies doesn't live up to its hype, right? And you need to understand what it is that you're doing and why it is that you're consuming it, and who do you trust, because there are people, unfortunately, in this world who will work to take advantage of a trust that they don't deserve, right, around areas specifically where you don't have much background or knowledge. Fortunately, I have some background and knowledge, and I'm looking to share that background and knowledge with you, specifically about how I went about trying to figure out if the claims that were being made for these products were true or not. And that's what I want you to take away from this. When presented with something like this, what techniques, what would you do in order to determine if this were real or not? Okay? And I've shown you a couple of ways of going about doing search engines. Look for ingredients labels, look for pictures of the back of the labels, right? Look to see if there are different click funnels, look to see if they're representing the prices, right, in a consistent way. In this particular case, we had the Buy Mile website and the Try Mile website. Other kinds of claims using different language, but they weren't linking to any of their cited research. If there were really a Harvard research study, right, that backed up the claims that they were making, they would link to it. They would link to the study and they'd quote it, right? But they don't. They just say, oh, there is some research out there, right? It sounds good, right, that there is some research, but the fact that they don't provide any way for you to go and find out what that research is. And there's some really, really stupid stuff that's going on here as well. I mean, for example, I go to I go down to this page and notice you'll see, oh, gluten-free here. And then I go to the Try Maya page and I get the gluten-free and it's wrapped incorrectly. I mean, it's a little thing, but this is really stupid, right? Right? No, there's no link to their test. There's no independent third-party test and no heavy metals tested. Okay, well, right? Okay, right? Prove it to us. Anyway, so that's it should be obvious, right? Based on what it is that I've done, is that I think that by Maïa, by the research that I have just showed you, right? The steps that I have gone through to figure this out. I'm not going to say that ceremonial cacao is a scam. So all ceremonial cacao, I'm not going to say all ceremonial cacao is a scam. It may be that you find an indigenous shaman who goes out and processes his own cacao. He goes into the forest, he knows some trees, he processes it. Um, you know, I would make the same thing about ayahuasca. If you're going to do an ayahuasca ceremony, make sure you're doing it with an indigenous shaman who knows what it is that he's doing and not some um, rich hippie who's trying to present something which is authentic, right? You need to be careful if you're doing hallucinogens, if you're doing something like ayahuasca, you need to make sure that you are surrounded by people who have been there before you and know how to talk you through the problem, right? Or not the problem, the experience. If there are problems, you need to have people around you who are experienced in dealing with what's going on. But I would trust an indigenous shaman who spends 3, 4, 5 months a year in the tropical rainforest over some transplanted um transplanted privileged person who went to another country and discovered the appearance of what was going on and doesn't have any authentic, genuine connection to the history of what it is that goes on. So I would say, again, I'm not going to make a 100% declaration that all ceremonial cacao is a scam, right? But what I'm going to say is that this particular product by Maïa and Try Maïa is trying to sell you a product that cannot be cannot be what it is that it represents itself to be based upon what I've seen from their websites, right? And the other research that I have done. So, what is some of the other research that I have done? So, over the course of the last year or so, what I've done is I've developed a series of LLM prompts. And I run the prompts. I can run them through ChatGPT. I can run them through Gemini. I can run them through Claude. All sorts of different engines, right? But there's one which is called summarize, one which is called explain, one which is called analyze, and one which is called fact check. And I can take a page or pages and I can say, run these four prompts serially. First run this one against the page or pages or other content that I've got. And what that does is it provides me a starting point. So it will say, for example, oh, they talk about Harvard research, but they don't cite to it anywhere. Or they talk about this study called Cosmos and they don't cite it anywhere. And the claims they're making for the study don't match what the Cosmos study actually says, right? And oh, this Dr. Vasquez doesn't exist, right, as a real person. So I use those LLM prompts as a shortcut to get me to what do I need to focus my personal attention and where do I focus my expertise, my experience, what it is that I know in following these things up. And so I can very, very quickly understand, oh, here are the pain points, here are the problems with what it is that's being presented. And here's where I can go and do my own work, looking at research. So looking at, plus one, the Public Library of Science, going to ResearchGate, going to all these other places and taking a look at what these things might actually say and if the claims being made are corroborated. You don't have to do this to the depth that I do it. You don't need to, right? But at a very high level, go to the website, right? Um, and go to the website and just look to see if there are any obvious inconsistencies. Look to see oh, if they say there's a Trustpilot rating, go to Trustpilot and see what the rating is. And if the Trustpilot rating is different from what the website says it is doing, just walk away, right? If you go to the website, go to Amazon, right? Or eBay, because these things are often available both places. Go to see it. I mean, I did an image search, right? And I found out, oh, just very, very quickly, without a whole lot of work, what you can do is you can say, this makes sense. or this does not. And so here's something that I will mention to everyone who's watching. Do you know a product which is being marketed, which seems to have unusual health benefits or other kinds of benefit claims? Let me know in the comments. Even though the live comments are going to shut down when I shut down the stream, go into the comments, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, right? And if you have another product that you think you'd like in cocoa or chocolate, right? With this, that is the limitation. If you have another product that you'd like me to examine the claims of, I will, if I haven't covered it already, or I think it's of broad enough interest, I will certainly go and take a look at those things, and either do a post on the Chocolate Life or schedule an episode. And the outro here is, of course, this episode of Pod Safe Chocolate. And here's the post for today's episode. This episode of Pod Safe Chocolate is sponsored by the members of the Chocolate Life. If you're not a member, you can go to the homepage. You can go and click on this little join button up here. Notice that there is a free membership. Since I started the Chocolate Life in 2008, there has always been a free membership level. There's always been a free membership level. What you do is you get the monthly newsletter. I do a monthly AMA that you can call into. All members can go and do that, right? So if you want to support the work I do, they're both monthly. If you do have the financial resources, there are both monthly and annual subscription levels, right? So for as little as $5 a month, you can support the Chocolate Life and Pod Save Chocolate, right? If you do support at the annual level, right, at the Team TCL Leader and above, these levels come with coaching and consulting hours. If you have a question about chocolate, if you're in the business, you're starting a business, whether you're a chocolate maker or a confectioner, you're in a bakery that uses chocolate, you've got some application of cocoa or chocolate that you're looking for, right? For as little as $150 a year, you can get access to coaching and consulting hours, as well as a monthly call where we can sit down, often one-on-one or in a very small group, and we can talk about questions that you might have and get answers to them. And with that, that's the end of today's episode. Thanks everybody for joining me, being a part of today's episode. Thanks, Juan, for the great comment and question that you put in. And with that, I want to close out, as I do every episode, with if you're working with chocolate and you're not having fun, you are doing it wrong. Until the next time, everybody, ciao.